This is question number 1 of homework 6. This firm just paid a dividend of $1.30 per share on its stock. So this first sentence simply tells us it's D0, right? Just paid, because the formula, if we recall, the formula to get the fair value of a common stock is P0, that's D1 over R minus the growth rate of dividend. So we need what we need. So this is like the timeline for what happened. So this is the current date, and this is 1 year or 1 period later, and 2 periods later, 3. So this is the dividend 1, and this is the dividend 2, and these 3, and so forth. So this is D0. And the setup basically tells us what the assumption, the dividend growth model simply assumes that the dividend grows at a constant rate, small g. So that's what this means, D1 times 1 plus g, and D3 equals D2 times 1 plus g. Yeah, and so on and so forth. So because it said just paid, so that means D0, not D1, that equals $1.30. Right? So let's continue to read. The dividends are expected to grow at a constant rate of 4%. So that simply tells us this small g is 4%. So from this equation, we can solve out D1, right? So D1 is simply D0 times 1 plus g. So that gives us 1.30 times 1 plus 4%. And investors require a return of 14% on the company's stock. So that's meaning this R here is 14%. So now we can use this equation to solve out P0, right? So now if I plug everything into this formula, so D1, that's D0 times 1 plus g, which is here, and that further divided by R minus g. So this gives me 1.30 times 1 plus 4%, and R is 14% minus 4%. So now I can use Excel to solve out this, to just calculate, or you can use your calculator, whichever you prefer. So this is 1.30 times 1 plus 4% over 14% minus 4%. Yeah, double check. Yes. And let's be careful about the rounding requirement. So yeah, the question is asking what is the current stock price, and that's exactly what we did. Do not round intermediate calculations and round your answer to 2 decimal places. I think that's exactly what we did. I think we can just copy the number back, or we can type it. So the second part is what will the stock price be in 3 years? So what happened is if we draw a timeline, so so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's asking now, what is this P3? Because it's asking what is the stock price, expected stock price, be in 3 years. So basically it's asking that. And we know that when we stand here, our first dividend will be D4 and second one will be D5. So now if we use that same formula, right, P0, apply that formula, here P0 equals D1 over R minus G. Oh, this is a bit not very easy to write sometimes. So, and then that's gonna be P3 equals, yeah, because this is one, you see, this is 1 year difference. So this must be D4 over R minus G. So, and then how do we get D4? Yeah, going back to that, D4 equals D3 times 1 plus G, right? So, and then if we, let me write down here, D4 equals D3 times 1 plus G. And because D3 further equals D2 times 1 plus G, and then 1 plus G. So this gives me D2 times 1 plus G squared. But remember, D2, we can further write this as D1 times 1 plus G and 1 plus G squared. So this gives me D1 times 1 plus G cubed. But we're not there yet. D1 is further D0 times 1 plus G, and then 1 plus G cubed. So this finally gives me D0 times 1 plus G to the fourth power. So you can see the rule here is that for whichever year's dividend, D4 is simply D0 times 1 plus G to the fourth power. So D100 is simply D0 times 1 plus G to the 100th power. So that's how we can plug in the numbers now. So plug in the numbers, and then we can solve out this equation. So this is D0 times 1 plus G to the fourth power, and this is R minus G. So the rest of the job is simply to plug in the numbers. So D0, we know that's 1.30, and G, that's 4%, and raised to the fourth power, and R is 14%, and then minus this 4%. So I can just go back to my spreadsheet and input everything. So it's 1.30 times 1 plus 4% and raised to the fourth power, and then divided 14% minus 4%. We need to add parentheses in the denominator because otherwise it's going to do the division first before we do the subtraction, but we need to do the subtraction first. So, and this, we need to keep this 2 decimal places. And that's our price by the third year. So, and you can see from here, even without calculation, D4 D4 is simply D0 times 1 plus g to the fourth power. And D0 times 1 plus g, so I can further write down this as D0 times 1 plus g and then 1 plus g to the third power and r minus g. Because this D0 times 1 plus g, we know that's simply D1. D1 over 1 r minus g times 1 plus g raised to the third power. And what is this? This is simply P0, right? If I use a different color, see, it's the same equation as here. So we simply have discovered a sort of new law, that is the growth rate of price. So the price at, this is price by the end of the third year, equals the price, the current price, times 1 plus g to the third power. So you can see that based on this equation, the price will also increase at the same rate at this small g, right? Will grow at the same rate at this small g. So from that observation, we can simply write down this P4 based on that will be P0 times 1 plus g to the fourth power. And P7 will be P0 times 1 plus g to the seventh power. And P 1000 years later will be P0 times 1 plus g to the 1000th power. So that's simply the rule. That's why this small g is also called capital gains yield. Capital gains yield. So from that observation, the last part of the question, what will the stock price be in 12 years? In 12 years, we can follow the similar procedure as we did here. Just D0 times 1 plus g to the 12th power divided by 1 r minus g, and plug in the numbers to get the final answer. But we can also use what we just newly discovered, this rule, P12, we know this is going to be P0 times 1 plus g to the 12th power. So we're going to use this new rule because we're so excited that we just found this new rule. We're going to use this new rule to figure out the correct answer. So just plug in a number. P0, we know that's gonna back to the Excel. This is P0. Okay, so let me use so this is P0, and this is P3, and now we need to figure out P12. So we know that P12 is P0 times 1 plus g to the 12th power. So that gives us this new number. We need to format it to keep 2 decimal places. And another beauty of using Excel is that it automatically meets this rounding requirement to not round intermediate calculations. Even though I kept 2 decimal places for P0 here, but in actual calculations, Excel will use a precise value of this variable in getting this P12. So, and then I can copy this number back and check my work. Yes, excellent.